What else you got? That was one.
And Suburban. And
Quorum being present, we'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Just hold it, Jen. There we go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job. Jen, you did great. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for our regular session, May 29th, 2024 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Mrs. Randall and Mr. Boyce. Any discussion? Any edits? All right. Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. Those in favor from Tantasqua will say aye. Aye. Opposed? Are there any abstentions to be noted from Tantasqua? One. Those from Union 61 will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions from Union 61?
You weren't here at the meeting, we should abstain.
You should.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Motion carries, abstentions are noted. We'll move to district improvement plans for the 2021 through 2026 district improvement plan. The link was fully distributed.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to touch on, Deb?
And if you don't mind, I can just in 2 minutes do a quick summary. So we've updated, this time of year, we always update what we've accomplished on the 5 to 6 year plan. It has been updated on the website, which is what that link was to. So that document goes into a whole lot of details of what we plan to do, the years we were planning to do. If you don't mind, I'll just take 2 minutes to try and give you verbally a quick summary of sort of where we are, what we've accomplished, and what's yet to be done in the 5 goal areas. First goal is curriculum and instruction. What we've accomplished so far in the areas of early literacy is adding programs including Read Side by Side, Foundations, Geodes, Integrity. In the math area, we, for junior high and elementary, have now implemented new curriculums at GEMS for the junior high and Bridges for the elementaries. In the social studies area, we've implemented investigating history curriculum, which is grades 5 to 7. And in the last couple of years, we have created curriculum maps for art K through 12. Still to come in the next couple of years, we are currently in the middle of reviewing the physical education and health new standards from the state to implement anything that we need to. We're in a review stage this year. We are reviewing writing curriculum K through 5. Foreign language curriculum will be reviewed in the next couple of years. Civics expansion, specifically the high school projects implementation, will be over the next couple of years. We've started this year, and there will be a science curriculum review. In the areas of student support services, I think 2 years ago, sent you all a copy of the multi-tiered system, support systems updates and flow charts. English learners, we've reviewed and increased programming as needed and established a consortium. And for specialized disabilities, we've reviewed programming and needs in the areas of dyslexia, social emotional, and vision and hearing services. We're still working on getting an English learner pack creation and working on teacher paraprofessional connections from a professional development point of view. Goal 3, the biggie, what we've accomplished thus far is the new student information system, which we researched, piloted, and implemented. Implemented to the point that we had before, and over the next couple of years we'll be adding some modules that the new system has the ability to do. We're in the middle this year with special programs, which is the special ed component. We have updated and increased messaging around internet safety. Still to come is a review of documentation on digital literacy standards and looking at delivery by grade. Sense of belonging was goal number 4. We've added behavioral coaches in elementary schools. Part of the new teacher induction program includes SEL and culturally responsive teaching to align with the educator evaluation rubrics. Grants were obtained to create district-wide sense of belonging teams. Advisory blocks at the secondary level have been adjusted to promote school community culture and social awareness. And the peer connections groups were created at both the senior high and now the junior high. Still to come, we're working on family surveys and continuing to try and work on school sense of belonging and safety. Community connections was goal number 5. We've had transitional events, open houses this year at all schools across the districts to include the district student support information. The strategic plan was updated with the new graphic, that tree. We've had a communications assessment, and still to come is implementation of some of the communications recommendations and review and update of student handbooks, which should happen within the next couple of months. I think we're looking to have one consistent elementary student handbook with just building specific information being the different, and that is almost ready to roll. And we've been working junior high and senior high to have as common a student handbook at the Tantasqua level as possible. So lots going on, lots still to come, but I think we're on track and that our teams have really done a good job of implementing things over the last few years.
Any questions for the superintendent on the district improvement plans? All right, we'll move to the approval of the draft 2025-2026 calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve the calendar as presented. Motion's been made by Mr. Haggerty. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Noyes Miller. Is there any discussion?
If I may? Just one definite difference and one note of interest. What this calendar includes is a 5th half-day early release PD. When we look at time and learning, we feel like we can fit it in. We've, for a number of years, had just 4 early release days, so I'm asking to squeeze in a 5th, which gives the 2 in March. That's what's new than what you've seen the last few years, is an extra half day. If I had my way, and I don't mind that the cameras are rolling, professional development time is a real challenge to get. If I had my way, our school years would have another day or 2 of professional development days. A lot of the communities around us have a 184 or 185 day teaching contract. I'd have to negotiate 6 contracts over 3 years to get that done, even if we could handle it from a funding mechanism, and I'm acknowledging that that just seems like not a realistic goal. So right now, I'm at least trying to get another half day. Unfortunately, what's happened over the last few years is a lot of these PD days and half days have started being consumed by things that, in my opinion, aren't real professional development. They're compliance. They're the training sessions that we really have to do. We've got to use this time to go through civil rights training and Alice and safety drills. And some of this time is used to do placement planning for the next year, which is important, but it's taking away from professional development time. So I'm looking to add another half day in, and we can meet, all 6 school districts will still meet the time and learning requirements to do so. That's there. The only other tiny note of interest before anyone asks, everyone actually, from a staffing point of view, from the administrator's point of view, liked the full PD that we had a little bit later in October than in the past. That worked out well this year. That was the full day. We did a few things. And looking at the calendar and trying to decide where we wanted to locate certain things, it's actually the principals who asked if we could have the full PD day next year be, if we're going to do it on a Friday, could we do it on Friday, October 31st, which has us not having school on Halloween and worrying about all of the non-education that happens on that day. So, that just happened on Thursday. That was that is on them. We shall see. But it was, to me, I got quite a little chuckle when one of them said, "How about this?" and the others immediately jumped in and said, "Oh, we'd love that." So, any other questions?
Questions on the calendar, Mr. Boyce?
Yeah, I know this has been explained to me before, but just wondering what the thinking behind having 4 half days versus two full days, because my own kids have given me the sense that half days are,
you legally have to have your students walk in the building 180 times. And then there's also the calculation of the hours. So I couldn't say 2 full days means you have 2 less days you come to school. They have to come in 180 days.
I knew it was something bureaucratic and stupid like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other
Okay,
questions? Further discussion on the calendar? Is there any objection from members of Tantasqua? Any objection from members of Union 61? By unanimous consent, the calendar is approved.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move to the October 1st enrollment figures. Mrs. Bullard?
So this is here, it's more than an FYI because it's what drives the percentage breakouts that you'll see in a few minutes on the central office. So it does 2 things. It drives your central office share when you divide that up. So that comes into play when you're looking at your share in each of your individual budgets, depending on what hat you're wearing, if it's Tantasqua or one of the elementaries. I look at this, the kind of heads up to me. It's also gonna drive your state Chapter 70 money that we'll find out about at the end of the year for next year. So unfortunately, it's this year's enrollment that drives next year funding. So interesting notes to me, or things that I kind of quote, buckle up and be prepared for. If I go to the bottom half of the page, I see nearly every elementary school with a declining enrollment. That I don't think is a huge surprise to many. There's a good chunk of a decline there in Sturbridge, and that is due to the large population we had at the beginning of the last school year, the emergency unsheltered, that most, not all, have been located elsewhere. But they were here October 1, they counted, now they're not. So my brain right away is saying I don't anticipate any of our local towns to be seeing big bumps in Chapter 70 because enrollment is not justifying it. They are still hopefully implementing, I think it's year 5 or 6 of the Student Opportunity Act, which was supposed to result in increased money, but for us smaller communities, all it does is close the gap between our hold harmless money that we've been getting just because we were level versus what we actually should. When I look at the top half, my brain is saying, Sturbridge, when I'm kind of looking in the middle when I see the Tantasqua total compared to, quote, FY24, and Brimfield is only down a little bit, Brookfield's only the same. Holland's up a little, so to me, I'm like, well, Holland could have a little bump up, Sturbridge could have a little bump up, and Wales down, when it comes to that part of the budget where it's based on just enrollment. Remember, first, we have to go through what the minimum contribution is based on the town's calculation, or the state's calculation of the town's wealth and population. But when I look there and say which communities are likely to have a little bit of a bump up, it'd be the Holland Sturbridge that I'm kind of keeping a look on. And other than that, the data is pretty self-explanatory for those of you who love data. Dig in.
Any questions on the enrollment data? All right, we'll move to the Communications Ad Hoc Summary Report.
So this is Mr. Valenzola, you're welcome to take over if you want, or I'll just kind of go with, I wanted to include here, your Communications Ad Hoc Committee met twice in the last couple of months, and this is a summary of, if you recall I'm sure for at least our May meeting, I sent you all the probably 15-page document from Horan Communications that they had done the assessment. So we looked at that document, spent a lovely Saturday morning, and then afterwards, but it was a great productive Saturday, going through that whole document and kind of going through what do we agree or disagree with. There were some things that we disagreed. For example, the document had a kind of significant push on PR/marketing towards school choice, to which I had to say, well, 2 out of my 6 districts don't even have school choice, so that's not necessarily a direction that we really need to go, and those that do have a pretty good waiting list, so not really necessarily where we need to push our efforts. But that was also this consultant who does a lot of work with some of the communities further out east, and it is a bit more competitive in that vein. So we went through and have these categories of things that we agreed could use some work. That we all thought, yes, would be beneficial for us over the next year or two to work on. Those of you who have been here for a while will remember. Those who are brand new, I am fully willing to say, 2 years ago when we started down this path of communications and marketing, I wasn't necessarily feeling like that's where we should be putting our priority and our effort. After going through all this, I absolutely say, yeah, there is some work that we can and should be doing. I think we all agreed our goal is kind of to find this balance between social media and our website. Our website absolutely needs more work. We just converted it a year ago and then it sat stagnant. We haven't tried to clean it up, fix it, or make it more usable. I certainly would rather be able to say, go to the website for all of the facts. And social media is about sending out points of pride and happy statements and pictures. That's kind of my opinion. I think most folks on the committee agreed with that, but we did acknowledge some type of social media presence is something that we want to talk about. I've not charged any principals at this point in time that they have to or can't. So we talked about, I don't want to have to read to you all, you've had it in your packet, work to be done on the website, work to be done around the topics and categories of social media, and some more general external communications, reminders, somehow building a mechanism to get our buildings to remember to look for press releases, call the newspapers. Even though there's not a lot of folks that read newspapers, we still get that free flyer every week or so that we could put stuff in and somehow compile a little more points of pride. So that's kind of what we've done in the last couple meetings. Did I miss anything?
No,
Mr.
just so you
Valenzuela?
know, the members of the committee were Karen and myself representing the school committee, Deb and Pete, Jody, and then Kathleen Hosterman from Brookfield, who has a lot of really good best practices that she brought to the meeting, and we were able to explore and consider that might be reasonable to adopt in some of our other schools. So it was a very productive Saturday meeting, actually. In hindsight, it was
Yep.
well worth us doing it on a Saturday, because
Yep.
it's not a topic you could have accomplished in an hour. Any questions on the report?
I was just wondering if you have the capacity to implement this?
But we'll talk about that next. That first was, what do we think we want to do? Is
Okay.
capacity, I'll actually talk about that a little bit in the central office budget discussion,
Right.
and then at each individual budget, I think we'll be having some conversations, because that is the challenge, is the capacity. Yeah.
Other questions? All right, we'll move to the final agenda item, which is the FY '26 central office budget.
Okay, so the format here is very much what we've done before for the last couple of years. So it shouldn't look too different, with page 1 being the overall budget, and then page 2 being that breakout by the 6 budgets, and the bottom line being the impact to each of the 6 budgets. Sticking right now to the first page, there are only a couple of areas that are any different than they've been for a while. One, just FYI, we did report out last year, just the structure has changed a little bit around technology and facilities. We've sort of collapsed those. Those of you who've been here for a while, remember there used to be a line for tech director and another line for facilities director. We've sort of collapsed those departments because over the years, they really have become very connected. So much around facilities is technology and programmable as far as taking care of our facilities. So we have, instead of the tech director and the facilities manager, we have the director of tech and of IT and facilities, and then an assistant director of IT and facilities. And within them, they have the technology capacity as well as project management capacity. So same FTEs, same dollars, just new titles. Which first? So you will notice the communications line that's zeroed out. And what I've proposed is that those funds, actually only 9,000 instead of 10,000, we're adding to, or suggesting we add to, the position, the student support compliance, and I put their communications coordinator, because my suggestion is, to your point about capacity, we don't have a lot. But what I think for very little money, that's a 10-month position, well, it's 203 days. So it's a little more than a 10-month position that I think for little money, if we make a 12-month position, again, assuming, and I don't know for sure that the person doing it would want to, but I'd like to try and make that a 12-month position and include in that position this central office oversight of the website, the technical training. It's not rocket science, but just some training to be able to actually manipulate the website can be done in-house. And it's a position that actually currently right now includes community outreach and doing all of these open houses, and it, to my mind, falls in line with helping with some PR, telling the points of prides, but we, from a compliance point of view, we need someone who's looking at that website and peeling through every single link regularly to find out if anything is not compliant, not updated. I know we have old stuff out there. I fully acknowledge, as I was poking through the athletic page not too long ago and saw the celebrating picture of the first game on the new turf that is now 8 years old. So, so I feel the need for some central office oversight to really dig into that website, dig into it, clean it up, sculpt it, and then be a point person to work with each of the individual buildings to say, okay, your individual building tab could use this and I'll help you build it, but somebody locally is gonna have to upload. To that point, each of my 6 principals is at a different place, 8 principals, sorry, 6 districts, 8 principals. They're at a different place as far as the local capacity to be able to tweak their own website a little bit, as well as get the cheerleaders going. Some have the ability to do it within their current staff, and some feel like they're completely maxed out. So we may be having conversations at the local level about a small stipend to say, if we put a small stipend out there, is there somebody who wants to after hours, update the website, or be responsible for finding good things to talk about and sending them to the newspapers or putting them up on the website. So that's where the local conversations will go. Only one item to talk about, but if you want, I could stop there if anybody has any questions, or talk about the one other thing. I'll keep going. So you can see that all of that thus far is budget neutral. What I would argue is driving this is a 3% budget that goes up to 4.7 because of the line in the middle. The biggest line in here is your administrative support. That's Unit D, which covers all of your bookkeepers and admin assistants, both in the central office as well as the junior high and the senior high. They are negotiating this year, so there certainly is a pool of dollars in there for negotiation discussions that I can't go into publicly. We could certainly have an executive session in the future if you want to talk about that. But also there has been a lot of turnover in the last 2 to 3 years. Good news is we've kept this budget down to 2% and lower for the last few years. Bad news is now 70% of this staff are newer and are moving, they're not maxed up, so they're moving steps. So that causes a bigger increase. It's not a ton of dollars in totality, but it's enough that it skews a budget. So that's what's happening on that line. Any other questions? You can see the rest. I'm not gonna read into the dollars for you, but again, page 2 shows you the impact across each of the districts if your focus is really just on one particular district.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the central office budget as presented. Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Final opportunity for discussion. Any objections from the Tantasqua membership? Objection from Union 61? By unanimous intent, motion carries.
Holy moly,
I'll
thanks,
entertain a
folks.
motion for adjournment of the joint meeting.
So moved.
Motion's been Miller, seconded by Mr. Boyce. Those in favor of the motion from Tantasqua will say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those in favor of the motion from U 61 will say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned at 6:26. Tantasqua members, please remain and begin in 4 minutes.
I can.
All right, a quorum being present, we'll call the Tantasqua School Committee meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know.
Yeah, it should be the new like honor of the meeting, you get to be the flag.
Where was our honor card?
Memorial Day parade.
All right, first item on the agenda is approval of the October 24, 2024 regular session meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mrs. Noyes Miller, and seconded by Mr. Dunn, and he's certain he was there. Discussion, edits?
Bill ran a great meeting.
I see that. Looks like it was short and sweet.
It was,
Very short, very sweet.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, it was MCAS, it didn't have to be that short and
No,
sweet.
no,
There
well,
was
that
some
part
meat,
wasn't
there was some
sweet.
meat to that meeting.
I asked some questions. Jody did a marvelous job.
You did a great job.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions for the record?
The cookies weren't good.
Yeah.
All right, next we'll move to the financial.
No, she did not make
All right, next we'll move to the financial report. Who's giving that?
I am. So the main thing, you have the latest report, the action, the business that we're hoping that you'll take care of. You, good Sheila, with me just doing right
Yep,
now
go
as
right-
opposed to.
go right for
Budget
it.
Subcommittee has met and approved these transfers. We did mention, I think last month, that the report, and it still does look a little bit messy with a whole lot of negatives. There's a lot of plus and minuses, partly because of negotiations, but more every time there's movement from one side of the street to the other side of the street. And then across the street, there's movement from the academic and the tech side. So we're asking, I think all of these transfers are on salary lines. In the end, if you vote them all, they should mostly clean up the negatives. There will still, complete full disclosure, leave a negative on the junior high teacher salary line. And that is, as I explained to Budget Subcommittee, because they had a lot of turnover, retirement and resignations last year, and there were 3 positions. So as I said, Sally Sunshine, good news, bad news. Good news is, once again, we started the school year fully staffed, which I always have peers who are not fully staffed at the start of the year, and even now, into the year. The bad news is the only way we could do it was there were 3 positions that we could not get, either the entry level or even the middle level, whatever, depending on the position that we had budgeted and hoped. They were, usually math is difficult, special ed, your psychologist is difficult. So while we optimistically budget, we fell short in 3 positions in the junior high, which is putting us significantly short. When we do all these transfers, we clean up a lot of it, but we're not gonna clean it all up. I am optimistically asking that we just go deeper into the year, keeping an eye on it, because if you'll remember, last May and June, we were trying to spend down a lot of grant money. We were spending down the end of the ESSERs, and then we were spending down the end of rural aid. So what we did was purchase a number of supplies and textbooks in May and June from this year's budget, so those lines should stay positives. And also technology, your subscriptions, your infrastructure, we paid those subscriptions in June instead of July, so that line has a positive balance. So I'm trying to be optimistic and say we're gonna cover the rest of the shortfall, but it certainly puts us in a different place starting to build next year's budget. Is a tiny bit concerning, but we'll take that step as we go there.
Yeah, is everything worked out as far as rural aid goes?
I am still waiting, and in fact, today I sent my second nasty gram to a different person to say what's happening. So I'm waiting to hear back, but no one is giving us any answers now as to when we're gonna hear.
So the
But-
issue is really how much as opposed to
Correct,
whether.
because we know that the governor's, but the final budget did include the line item, the same dollar amount as the year before, so I can't, there's no way they're completely changing the calculation. It's just, I don't know what the holdup is to do that calculation and then get things rolling. Yes, he's got something going on there, but I kinda went a little higher up today, and we'll see if I hear, so, let y'all know what I know. Then we'll at some point have another meeting with budget to talk about what it is and what we could do with it. But for now, I'm asking for a vote to make the transfers, the budget transfers as presented here.
All right, the recommendation for approval of the Unit A and B salary transfers as recommended by this budget subcommittee will move to the floor for consideration. Doesn't require a second. Is there any discussion or further questions?
It was unanimous by the budget subcommittee, just for reference.
Is there any objection? By unanimous consent, the motion carries. All right,
That is it for financial for now.
move to our report section, our student report. Good evening.
Who
Hi
wants to go
everyone.
first?
The student body, this is normally a pretty busy time for them, but we faced some sort of lull during the past couple weeks, so that's great. Dating all the way back to October 26th, the Student Council Executive Board sent several delegates to the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils officer shop. So there, we just attended several roundtable discussions and workshops just to collaborate with other councils and bring back different skills to help improve our school. Personally, I thought it was pretty engaging. I thought I learned a decent amount. That was not the general consensus with my peers, but as an upside, they did serve us Jersey Mike's for lunch, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. A similar event actually took place on Wednesday, November 6th. So the Central District of the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils held their annual fall conference. So we sent upwards of 50 members from our council all the way up to Blackstone Valley Tech. And there we hosted as well as attended several workshops just to teach these crucial skills such as cooperation, communication, and teamwork. As a council, we're debriefing on this tomorrow, but the general consensus from our council members is overwhelmingly positive, so I'm looking forward to hear what the rest of my peers brought back from that event. So that's great. Over the last several weeks, the Student Council has been working in tandem with the National Honor Society to hold our annual food drive. So that began on Monday, October 28th, with team signups being sent out, continued through November 9th when we held our craft fair, and when the National Honor Society held their annual pie sale portion of the food drive, and it will be ending at the end of this week. So we will have drop-off on Thursday the 21st and Friday the 22nd, as well as sorting and pickup for the food items being also on Friday the 22nd. For our senior class, we had 2 fundraisers planned for the school the month of November. Those being Tantasqua's Got Talent and a dodgeball tournament. Unfortunately, due to lack of submissions for the talent show, we had to drop that, but the senior class is still working diligently to run their dodgeball tournament, which will be taking place this Thursday, the 21st. They're asking for teams of 10 to 15 people and are asking participants to pay $10 to
We should have a
enter.
school committee team.
There you go.
Yikes.
That would be fun.
I've been dodging balls for a while.
It will continue.
All right. So lastly, for the month of November, the Student Council has been working hard to plan our annual pep rally. So next week we have several spirit days planned out. I know we were talking about having a pajama day, like a minion day, and just class color day. So we were working on planning that, as well as the rally itself, which will be held on Wednesday, the 27th. We have several performances lined up from the band and the cheerleaders. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we have a lot of just games and activities that we're planning on holding. I know Dr. Dufresne bought some tricycles for like tricycle races. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we've been working pretty hard to plan that, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Many sports teams have rounded out their seasons in the last several weeks. Several of our teams went to the playoffs. I know boys and girls soccer went. Our football team went to the playoffs. So great job to all of our fall sports athletes. Winter sports signups will be due before Thanksgiving, and most of which will be in on December 2nd, so the Monday we get back from break. We've had sort of a lull in November, but in the not-so-distant future, we have a decent amount planned. Starting right after we get back from break, the Student Council will be holding its toy drive, so we plan to have all donations in for that by Friday, December 13th. Our Student Council Executive Board is planning on traveling to Southbridge to participate in the Festival of Giving Trees. So we will be decorating a tree based on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So we bought a lot of decorations for that, like lime jello packets and like a burnt cat ornament. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be doing that on December 4th. We have 2 events planned for Saturday, December 7th. From 9 to 11 a.m., we are holding our annual Warrior Winter Day of Service. So the Student Council will join together and make things like blankets, cat toys for animal shelters, and blessing bags, all to be donated to various organizations in the area. And then from 11:30 to 1 p.m. that same day, we'll be spending time with our Pathways program to set up a game of unified basketball. So I'm looking forward to that as well. On Wednesday, December 18th, our school will be teaming up with the Special Olympics to hold our mobile polar plunge. So students will be asked to join teams and raise at least $25. If they do so, they'll be able to skip their D-block class and then actually plunge. So that'll be a lot of fun. As a school, we need to raise at least $2,500 for the Special Olympics to actually come out and hold the polar plunge. And a lot of our teachers have like bounties set on their heads, so I know Mr. Newell and Mr. Hargis are at $500. We've placed a lot of admin at $2,500 and Dr. Dufresne at $5,000. So
That's good to know.
Dr. Dufresne
share
is
everything, Ben.
poorly last year, so.
When is the tape fundraiser this year?
I don't know. I mean, we have that in the spring, so I'll have that information to you guys hopefully soon. And then our last week before winter break, so the 16th through the 20th, our student council is planning on holding several activities, spirit days to build up cheer and excitement for the break. We haven't necessarily discussed the details of which, but we plan on doing that shortly, and I'll let you guys know what we plan on doing. But that's about it for the time being and the not-so-distant future.
Ben, when is the cutoff date for donations for the polar plunge?
I don't know.
Tonight.
I'm sure we can catch up with him in December.
I'll give you $500 towards Dr. Dufresne's.
Okay, I mean,
Done. I'll write the check tonight.
We'll see you at the December meeting.
got it. I'll let you guys know. I'll figure that out for you guys.
We're gonna have to go over these reports a little more in depth.
Yeah, when is the Warrior Winter Day of Service?
That'll be
I missed the date.
December 7th, I
Saturday,
believe.
the 7th.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions for Ben? All right, Ethan?
Last week on November 9th, we held our craft fair. It was the biggest turnout we ever had. We filled up every single parking lot and we were turning people away. At one point, we had to go out and go get extra bags for the raffle at 10 o'clock. Poor Miss Witten's husband was driving to Walmart in a state of panic getting bags. The door was wide open, so we had to put weights in the bags. But other than that, we had a very good turnout for the craft fair. I'm going to tell you about the shops. In healthcare, freshmen are doing awesome in their exploratories and have been respectful, engaged, and there have been zero cell phone issues for us. With our first 45 freshman groups. Today they participated in great activities that displayed how quick the spread of infection can take place. Sophomores are wrapping up Chapter 9 Basic Human Needs. They will be presenting their generations projects and participating in a gallery walk to help understand the unit. Juniors are finishing up all their vital sign units and are honing their vital sign skills. They're excited to be performing hands-on skills and have been practicing our incredible sim mannequins on each another to enhance simulation. They have also completed the first few initial weeks of our amazing Dean Vaughn medical terminology program, and they are loving it. Seniors are finishing up their urinary unit. They have been practicing obtaining urine specimens, completing a quick urine dipstick test, and are presenting their urinary mind map soon. They have been working in the clinical setting for about 5 weeks now and have been learning and growing each clinical day. Sadly, they recently found out that one of the people that they have been caring for consistently passed away unexpectedly. So as a team/family, we're helping them to work through their grief as it relates to this. Many of our healthcare students volunteered their time at the Tantasqua Craft Fair this weekend. Their help was deeply appreciated. In computer tech, last Thursday, senior students visited Sturbridge Senior Center to provide technical support. They will be there this Thursday as well. Freshman Rotation 4 just completed day 6 of their exploratory rotation. Sophomores are working to earn their PC Pro certification. Students just completed learning about the operating system and file systems. They are also taking the OSHA 10 certification. Juniors are working to earn their PC Pro certification. Students are learning about security concepts and the threat matrix. Over the next month, students will take their certification exams and be the first class to enroll in the new CompTIA Network Plus curriculum. 75% of the senior students have earned their Network Pro certification. They have recently enrolled in the Security Pro curriculum. Honor students are also earning their Ethical Hacking certification. Select seniors will be on site at the Sturbridge Senior Center next Thursday to provide security awareness, training, and technical support. In hospitality, the freshmen are finishing up their 5th rotation. Culinary and hospitality are doing a unit together on OSHA and getting their certifications. Should be completed in early December. They have also collaboratively put on breakfast buffet for the month's district leadership meeting. Juniors and seniors are running the Cornerstone Cafe for lunch and delivery service as well as catering events. That's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Ethan? All right, thank you, Paul. Make sure you circulate the details on the special Olympics.
I'll have that to you guys.
I think we should put a number on the head of the school committee, right? I mean,
That'd be a great idea.
I think you'd have a lot of teachers writing checks.
I like that idea.
I do think
Did
my
you see the light
commitment's
bulb go on
video.
over
I think we're gonna raise a lot of money, Ben.
Find out which one of you likes the cold, the least.
Oh, you know that answer.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Dr. Dufresne is not a fan.
Yeah. I'll do mine in the pool. All right, with that, we'll move to staff reports, and Dr. Dufresne, I think you'll go first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalo. This month, our highlight for Tantasqua was our social studies department, appropriate with our national election this month. We have a lot going on. Mr. LaFortune and Mr. Blackwood held a mock constitutional convention. Mr. Metz held a large debate on some World War II topics. Should the United States enter World War I on the side of the Allies? Mr. Trevelyan began his stock market game this month. He talks a lot about market systems, and Ms. Sullivan's AP Comparative Government Politics class researched and reported out on the major British political parties. Their professional practice goals for the department will focus on technology and immersing themselves in our newer student information management system of Power School, and how we can leverage that tool to connect with the homes of our families. History teachers wanted me to impart that they were very pleased that they have Chromebook cards in all of their classrooms now, something that we're working on, make sure they're available for everyone. We have our new trio of teachers who are working also on working towards their professional teaching licenses, Mr. Trevelyan, Ms. Irish, and Mr. Wade, and they are all enrolled in the Master of Arts in American History program sponsored by Gettysburg College. You get to travel there, and obviously it holds a rich piece of art history. Ben updated you on student council and some of our NHS offerings. Our October was full of high notes for the music classes. I see what you did there, Mr. French. We had our fall concert a few weeks ago, and the students sang beautifully. Our show choirs are beginning, and they are coming along. And if you have not been to a show choir, frankly, not even a show, if you come over for practice, they work as hard or harder than any athlete that we have in that building. It's fairly impressive to see. Music composition and technology branched out. The students had a podcast assignment, which was really quite good, and you can listen to those. If you send me a request, I can send some of those out to you. That'd be interesting. Our band had their fall concert performance last month, and a little more recently, just some congratulations to the students who auditioned for the Massachusetts Music Educators Association Central District Senior Band, Orchestra, Jazz Band, and Choir. It's a mouthful. It's a large competition. But we had several students who were accepted: Orion Boyce, Mitchell Leo, Grant McFarland, Isabella Peterson, Allison Regan, Edith Simpson, William Simpson, and Madeline Sousa. And those students will all perform amongst the top Central Massachusetts high school musicians on Saturday, January 18th at 4 o'clock in Mechanics Hall in Worcester. It is an open performance, so certainly you're welcome to attend. I'm going to try to be there. Wrapping up our fall athletic, we had another great season. Football finished 5-3, earned the number 9 seed and a playoff berth. Boys soccer finished 11-4-3, secured the 33 seed in the MIA Division III state tournament. And girls soccer had a great season with a regular season record of 11-5-2, earning the 19th seed in the Division III state tournament. Cross country boys finished with a record of 9-2, and the girls cross country team finished with a record of 10-2. And last but not last, but the competition and game day cheerleading teams both took first place overall in the Swickle League cheer competition, and I had the opportunity to spend some time with them a little earlier this fall and never realized how difficult cheerleading was. Last but not least, certainly for athletics, the golf team had an amazing season. They finished 15-5 and 11th in the state tournament. And just a quick congratulations to our academic senior of the month, Jackson Landine. And just finally, just a pool update. We are moving along. There are more steps to opening a pool than I realized or ever would have imagined, but we are at a place where we should be running some lifeguard courses in the near future, hopefully before our next meeting. And I know that we've gotten some support from some of the towns, some of you all, so I just wanted to update you that the pool is moving forward slowly, but it is moving forward. So we're excited to get that open. And that's it.
Questions for Dr. Dufresne?
Just added quickly, FYI, because he didn't realize it was part of his report, we just put it at the end. These last 2 pages, collection circulation, that's as a result of last month when you were asking who takes out library books. Both he and I agreed, this is actually more, this was just 2 months worth. So the circulation from the beginning of school to this report of December 28th, I think it was, there were 946 total that had actually been checked out, so.
More than I would have guessed.
I agree, I agree.
A lot of history probably because of the project.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a circular business, I mean.
History was a high number.
And I heard
Thank you, though, for that.
you reinstituted the mock election on election day.
So the Model UN, we weren't going to do a mock election, and the Model UN Club came and asked if they could do it. So they did a nice job. We put together they put together, I just approved it. We put it out in the Google Classroom. It was a Google form, and so our election went off without a hitch, no hanging chads if you're of a certain age. When it's a Google form, that doesn't happen. And yeah, we had a great, that they went around at lunch, and got out the vote, and Tantasqua students picked the election correctly, and they were almost, I think it
High
was
school
58 to
students picked the-
42%. What's that?
You just said Tantasqua, I just wanna clarify, the high school students,
Pardon me.
because the junior high also. had a-
Tantasqua High School picked the election correctly. I think it was 58% for President-elect Trump. Did we not match with your election?
You did not match with our mock election.
Okay.
I don't know what the percentage shift was, but I knew there were two different outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was good, and they did a great job, the Model UN students. I was a little leery at first. I tried to keep politics out of school as much as possible, and they did a great job. So, plus they suited up, which is always kind of the way to my heart. They wore suits when they asked.
Thank you, Dr. Dufresne. Mr. Sturgis?
And on our end, starting with the mock election piece, we didn't allow any politicking or siding. We just had the students that the day before through their social studies classes were handed actually a ballot registration form, so they're just to see what it looked like. They literally had to just put their names on it, so they didn't declare anything, but they just got the experience of what it looked like and had to bring it with them to the election booth, which was in here on the computers. And it wasn't a Google form, but it was another app that just tallied the vote. And yes, we did not have the same. It was a close race, but we did not pick the presidential candidate elect correctly on this side of the street. So
It's always 2028.
thank you, Mr. Dufresne. So, on that note, shifting gears, the junior high, I don't have as much to say as Dr. Dufresne did. But we do have a few things off of the, that are not in my packet or my report. Our Peer Connections group was started a year ago. Is after it again, the next wave of 7th graders, there's about 20 of them. There's about 35 of them and 20 current 8th graders who were trained from the year before who stuck with it. They participated in their professional development days, so to speak, for them, which is actually 2-day-long trainings with the ADL in here, so it's actually more work than it seems. They do an excellent job. They are gearing up to lead some lessons, actually for staff at a professional development day, and we're going to give them some time during extended advisory blocks here to do things school-wide for our kids as well. We did have, different from the high school, our fall sports season actually ended a few weeks ago. We're actually in basketball mode already. Boys basketball had over 40 kids trying out in the past 2 days. Girls basketball, due to numbers, are actually going to be trying out after the Christmas break with the high school at the same time. As we've done in years past, the high school from the varsity down to junior high coaches all do it together. So that's why we do it before the season starts, so that the high school coaches are available. This year, the girls will be trying out, so on the same schedule with the high school girls. We are at Thanksgiving time, as we've done in years past. Our guidance folks would this year take on some extra support from student council around supporting our own community. We are once again going to be able to provide 30 Thanksgiving baskets to families in our own community. Starts with the Halloween dance, where the student council folks give a reduced cost to the tickets if you can donate canned good. We've had donation advertising out there. We've had plenty of donated turkeys, and the guidance folks are starting to put it all together. And whatever we have left over, we will continue it as we've always done, and reach out to families in need at Christmas time as well, in the holiday season. So at that time, we'll add in some Tantasqua gear that we can give to those families as well, so that it can come from the families and not come from us. And so we continue with that. It's a lot of hard work going into it, a lot of items collected, but it's been really good. Again, next week will be the week when the boxes are overtaking the main office, and the families who come in, they're always with such gratitude, because and this year we actually opened it up on, I have a Sunday message with the parents where if we miss somebody or if we don't know their circumstances, they could actually sign up. They'd have to not be anonymously, but sign up privately, I should say, and we get some support from us. So it's great that we can help our own community. I won't steal your thunder. I have a feeling you might mention, but we did have our tech tours today. So you're gonna have 292 tech applications being filled out tonight, because the kids come back from those tours and every single one of them want to go to the vocational high school after today. Happens every single year. The students on Mark's side and the adults, the staff over there they really do a nice job. The tours, they really shine up and polish the things and make them look really nice, because they all want to go over there today. We always print out about 150 applications, and then after 7 seconds at lunch, when the sharks come up and swarm, our guidance counselors have to print out more, and it didn't fail this year. And the last two things I wanted to mention is our Project 351 students. They will go to their launch day at the State House in January. And once again, this is one of my favorite 2 awards we do get to recognize. These are some top-notch kids. They're not only good in school with their academics, but these are, when I look at these names of kids, they're soccer players, cross-country runners, drama club, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. I did have one student here, and I offered students school-wide if they were interested in this nomination, that they can nominate themselves this year. They would just have to write me as something small to just say why. Only one person in the whole school did that, and I was happy that she was nominated. She was actually elected by the staff as well, so that was pretty cool. And then last but not least, because there's a page missing on my report, was our NJHS ceremony, which was last week. If you look at my report and you wonder how it goes from one thing to halfway through students of the month, we're missing the NJHS page. We had a nice ceremony. Typically we have that ceremony this week, and we did it, I think it was 2 weeks ago at this point in time. It's getting, for families at night and the basketball season starting. So we had an awesome turnout having it just 2 weeks earlier. We had about cafeteria full of families, grandparents. We did it on a Friday night. We had more kids than usual. I think we had 52 students that got nominated into it. So that got accepted into NJHS, and that does include some kids that were not. We didn't just accept everybody. There were kids who didn't get in. So it was a nice night. Families came out. We had a nice speech from Jocelyn Rottek, senior over your end, rock star student. So she gave a nice speech, and then also good advice to our kids. So that's what I have for now from my end.
Questions for Mr. Sturgis? Mr. Wood?
Alrighty. So I'd like to draw our attention to, I apologize, I didn't get the stuff in for October. Our 2 seniors of the month, both Zach and Nyana, and I asked them to, I always give them homework, which is give me a little blurb about you and what you do, and rather than change the words up, I'd rather put it into their words. Both incredibly good kids, and they both work really hard in their field. Ethan talked about CompTIA. That is a third-party certification. We are actually looking, based on program advisory recommendations, to become a CompTIA testing site, which means other people who want that third-party certification would come to us. So that's in the infancy of the project. Health Careers, if you look in theirs, they do an incredible job on the walk to end Alzheimer's. The participation rate of the kids in the shop is great, and they raise a good amount of money for the cause. Also in the report, you see that Ms. Witten, who is our new business tech teacher, was the most valuable teacher from Cornerstone Bank and the WooSox. That came from a recommendation from her students. So that was kind of cool in her first year. It was actually kind of fun because they came that day with 2 of their mascots in uniform, so I don't know how they got in and out of the cars. I have no idea. But it was just a really good thing, especially for her students, to see the teacher get that. I would like to also, the craft fair a little bit, I want to piggyback on what Ethan said. I want to publicly thank Ms. Witten, Mr. Bernard, Ms. Espinosa, Chef Bab, and Chef LaRiviere for everything they did that day. So between the rental of spaces, the rental of tables, and then if you want electricity, you have to pay extra for that. Plus there's the breakfast that Hospitality and Culinary do, there's a lunch that they do, and the raffle, as he also alluded to, we changed the format. It was always, if you want to volunteer. This year we said you have to volunteer and give something. So there were over 120 things to be raffled off, which took a lot of time, but it was all good. I'm still working on crunching some numbers, but it's just under $11,000 for that fundraiser, which is phenomenal, and that money goes to Skills USA. The grade 8 tours, just a little bit, very proud of our kids who do the tours. There are some kids who you look at when they were freshmen and sophomores, and then you look at them now as seniors and see how they've really blossomed and how passionate they are about their particular shops. And it was really cool to see that. There is a high level of excitement. I will also say that when I talked to the kids this morning, they could not have been more respectful They were awesome. They were just such a good group of kids. And I think that's what I got.
Hey, Mark, that virtual hotel module you talked about, is that an application we purchase, or is that a homegrown application?
No, that's a software program.
Other questions for Mr. Wood?
How's the project coming, carpentry? Carpentry's
It's-
kind of forgotten to be included the past couple of months.
Well, I leave it to the teachers.
I know,
So,
exactly, you gotta light a
I
fire
have
under
to
them,
remind
because I
them.
missed it.
Well, I will tell you, it was really cool today, just to talk about that. So when the kids, the 8th graders, came into carpentry, 3 of our carpentry seniors did the presentation. And they showed the pictures of the project, which has really taken off. It actually had a kind of a later start than we would have liked to, just because of some complications on the pouring, the foundation, everything else. But it's amazing the work that they've done. Thank God we have had incredibly good weather.
Yeah.
That has made everything so much better. I will definitely include that with some of the pictures, because
Be great.
it's very impressive when you go on a job site and you see the kids and how they're doing. And it was really cool listening to the kids, especially Josh today, throwing out all the jargon and just so much command of what they were doing. And it's just
Great.
so cool to see. But yeah, what's also interesting, juniors under Mr. Ward, they go out almost as much as the seniors do now. And they took on a job, people wanted some stairs done. And the teacher went out and said, no, can't do the stairs because your deck is no good. So we figured they were gonna say, never mind that. But instead they're doing the deck. And the kids are loving going out and doing the work, and it's just fun to see.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
I was interested in your write-up on cooperative education. I see that at the time of the report, we had 10 seniors involved in a co-op, and I'm curious what percentage of the senior class ultimately does a co-op, and what impacts that number?
It depends on the year, however. Right now, we're probably looking at least, I would say in the next couple months, looking at 15% of the kids out, because we still have quite a few kids in the queue. I actually talked to 2 culinary kids today that are looking to go out on co-op. So it's a great opportunity for kids. And so I would always like to shoot for 20%. It would be cooler if it was bigger, but co-op has gotten bigger, so as again I said, thank God to Mr. Lamothe and Mrs. Carty for taking on that responsibility, because there is a lot of paperwork, and there are site visits, so it is time consuming, and even after the students are placed, they have to go out during the year to make sure everything is copacetic and life is grand. And it's a great opportunity for kids. What if I think about it, I will next month, I will have some kids do a little bit of a blurb of their experience and what they think about it.
Do we have more kids wanting to do them, and because of the challenges of getting them in place, locating them, doing it, that there is a backlog there? Or?
Yes, so sometimes it's harder to find people who want to take on a co-op kid, especially. We have a rich history of people who have been doing it for years and years and years. That's easy. It's trying to sell somebody new. The one thing is a saving grace for us over like a Bay Path, which is a 1 week on, 1 week off. They get our kids every day. Now it might be after second block or after first block, depending upon the shop. But at least they get them every day, and it's not having to reshift your workforce every other week.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Brings us to our committee reports. Budget, Mrs. Rose Miller.
We did meet, and obviously we approved the transfers, and the other was the central office budget, which was not unanimous, but the majority of us approved it. The majority of the discussion was around the increase for the year-round position for the communication piece of it. And the big stumbling block, so to speak, is that we know that we need more hours, more time than we can afford to do at this point, and that we just feel that increasing this person, whoever does end up taking the position, for that extra $7,000 is not implementing the budget substantially, and is kind of putting a Band-Aid on it for a little bit, but we hope that it will be a step towards a more permanent solution.
And we meet next, probably not until
Till
our big one,
January.
but January
Last Saturday,
one to
January.
fifth, our lovely full Saturday morning, FY '26.
All right, technical, Mr. Dunn.
We met last Friday, the 15th. We met at Cornerstone Cafe, patronized the students, as is a tradition for our meetings. I think we all had the orange chicken, it was delicious. We primarily focused on program advisory and reviewing what conversations were had there. It was 85 members were present, representing the 9 shops. The largest turnout was from the electrical area. The evening began with a dinner provided by culinary teachers and students, and served the students from both culinary and hospitality. Do they get any days off? It feels like they have a lot going on.
Yeah, they are very busy.
But for those who aren't familiar with the program advisory, they get broken up into groups. They're tasked with reviewing the current budget, reviewing and recommending supplies needed for their specific programs, reviewing enrollment trends, reviewing and recommending textbooks or software for the programs, and identifying equipment needs for the program. So I won't read through every one of them, but some examples here. The CAD program, their recommendation were some new desks in the architecture room, new chairs in the mechanical room, and replacement monitors. And then to review a new software program called Bluebeam and SketchUp. Other areas here, let's see, carpentry, looked for a job site compress, replacing some worn ropes, some more staging, a nail gun, left-handed battery saws. So just to name a few things that were discussed, by the groups. The next steps were for Mr. Wood and his staff to look at the current budget and see what can be purchased now versus what they would need to make into the capital plan. A few other things that were discussed, census is actually up. The freshman class is at about 150 students. We realize that over time there will be some attrition as students get into their first choice or realize that tech isn't for them, but these numbers are really strong and trending really well. Other notes, the school store is being changed in a big way. We talked about that a little bit. They had a big sale for some excess inventory for historical items. Hopefully they can turn that money into part of the future of the school store. And then finally, we have registered for Skills USA, and the advisors attended their first meeting. The first competition will be districts in March.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Curriculum, Ms. Cunningham.
Okay, so we met on Monday, October 28th. Mr. Sturgis joined the committee to discuss junior high schedule changes. They're on a 7-day rotating schedule. The changes were driven by student feedback. We added a full-time French teacher. Exploratories include engineering, art, technology, and health 1 and 2, in addition to PE and general music. Jody led a discussion about the Unified Handbook template update. So Holland, Brookfield, and the high school have unified versions posted. The changes incorporate feedback from the civil rights audit, and the addendum will be more dynamic, including hyperlinks. She also shared with us the Safe and Supportive Schools Subcommittee work, also known as SAS. We're currently in year 2 of a 3-year grant. They solicited feedback from parents, students, and staff to ask, what do we want? And the overall consensus was a sense of belonging. The staff team meets monthly to work on action plans for each school. And then we just scheduled our future meetings tentatively, but our next meeting will be Monday, December 16th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham.
And can I just, I just want to clarify, we didn't add a French teacher. We actually, as part of the budget process, moved a 0.6 or 0.4 to 1.0.
Point 4 to 1.0.
Right, which was part of the budget process. I just didn't want you to think that we had another position.
Thank you for
But also
clarifying.
that there's an increase, foreign language is definitely on the uptick in French. Yeah.
Bylaw and policy, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Yes, we just have 3 policies under unfinished business, all on second reading, no changes since first reading. Therefore, we move to adopt policy BHE and to rescind policies IE and IHAI, all on second reading.
It's a recommendation, we'll bring it to the floor for discussion. I was not here last month, so can you explain the resend on those two?
Can I explain the what, I'm sorry?
Why those are being rescinded?
Yes, because they are all contained elsewhere in our policies. It was more of a structural issue versus a substantive rescind. Occupational education, if you look at it, it really speaks to, it's a lot of flowery language. The nuts and bolts of occupational occupation is contained elsewhere in our policies, as is the organization of instruction.
Which policies are they contained in?
I'll have to get back to you on that, Mr. Chairman. We talked about it last time. We have more, we've combined policies, but we do have one which speaks to both of those. I'll send those to you.
And then on BHE, we had a policy around electronic messaging by school committee members. Is this new or in replace of it, or in
This-
addition to?
I think this says new, but it looks like, if I look at the dates, it was amended.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is our policy.
Yes.
Yeah, this is our
So
policy. I
it's an
apologize.
adoption of the amendment.
So
The issue,
what are
some
you
of it was
amending?
the lettering that we actually had to make a change on,
Okay,
but it is our policy.
all right. Further discussion? Any objection? Seeing none, then by unanimous consent, the motion carries.
We meet again, by the way, on December 11th.
Thank you. Negotiation, Mrs. Randall, any report? And then building and physical plant, Ms. Goodwin.
We've not met yet.
Right. Brings us to our superintendent's report, Mrs. Boyd.
Which, I don't have a whole lot other than actually to kind of flow into the communication. We did the pool update, reminding folks December meeting will be across the street on our still third Tuesday, so starting a little before 6, because we will have some musical, I believe we will have the junior high band, yes. And then we will have our usual, hopefully joyous December meeting with some culinary snacks, meeting the superintendent scholars, music, should be a great meeting, but just remember it's at the high school.
Mrs. Boyd, just so you know, if they make the chowder that they did for the Chowder Fest, it sounds weird, but it was a dill pickle and sausage chowder, and it was really, really good.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Never do I question what they have. It's all right. Shouldn't have told us. It should have been, kind of blank and then
Oh,
try it, but that's
Try and
okay.
guess.
just forget it.
All good. The game next week is away. We don't have in our possession tickets. If you are actually going to the away game or want to, touch base with Dr. Frame, he will get you game tickets. And if that is all I have, if you're okay with me rolling into communications, because I do
Yep.
want to talk a little bit about, you've got, on everyone's mind probably. So, I sent you, literally, as I was putting the packet together, we got that 2-page Q&A from the acting commissioner on ballot 2. I don't have a lot more to share other than that. I just wanted to say, we will be having conversations. We certainly, Dr. Dufresne and I have been speaking, and Mr. Wood, because the question the passing of the question is for this year, so effective pretty much immediately. What we have in our program of studies is the requirement as far as credits and courses for the current class. There's still going to be more information coming from the department head. There's Abigail Adams scholarship that we certainly anticipate is gonna continue, so MCAS is continuing, certainly through 10th grade. We are in a place where we need to be having some conversations, so first, we'll have them as administrators, and then probably look to have a conversation sometime late winter or early spring to start having, and I guess I would ask, what subcommittee would you first like those conversations? If we as administrators wanna come and say, this is what we suggest going forward, that be our graduation requirements, because we are at a place where we can have those conversations and build a policy to say so.
I would think a joint curriculum and pylon policy.
Okay, Okay, so if you give me a month or two, first, Desi, I'm sure is gonna be cranking out some more information, factual as well as philosophical, and, you know, I've got things going in my head already. But if you give us a month or two to come up with what Desi is saying they're going to do or not going to do, as far as a number of things. There's lots of things being swirled out there. There's the MCAS test that will still continue and absolutely has relevance as far as accountability for a district. There's Mass Core, which has been a suggestion / recommendation, more of a requirement. So there's lots of things that we can talk about. Administration will talk first, and then I'll look to try and have a joint meeting, and we'll go from there.
And can we share the results from our 5 communities with the school committee?
I have looked at a whole lot of election results. I have not looked at the ballot questions by communities. I've looked at presidential and other official
All of our town
officials.
clerks can provide it.
Yes,
I'd be
but I
interested
have
what
not
the
looked at the
district-
ballot results.
I'd be interested what our 5
Okay, no,
communities.
that's a good point. I'm happy to look into that.
I think it matters.
Yep. Good. So that's that for now. And other than that was just the subcommittee, final reports with the chairs that we included in there as communication.
Very good.
Yep.
Questions from Mrs. Boyd? All right, we have no new business, public access. Open forum. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:24 PM. Motion been made by Mrs. Rose Miller, seconded by Mr. Hagerty. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you all. Have an awesome Thanksgiving, whether you are traveling or not. Be safe either way, and we'll see you across the street this month.